Many young unwed girls find themselves in the crisis of an unplanned pregnancy. Some have no financial means, no emotional supports, and have to deal with stigma. So many are then tempted by abortion, some even coaxed. Our guest today is Michelle Thorne. 13 years ago, unwed, she found herself faced with this very crisis. She chronicles her journey, unwatered down, in her book, Delivered. It's a story of pain and redemption and the option she took of adoption. What a privilege it is to have you with us today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
When you first found out that news that you were expecting a little one, your first reaction?
I was fear, just complete and utter fear of what people would think, of what people would say, of what I was going to do. I was just scared to death.
And you were brought up in the church.
Yes.
How did you deal with that when it came to your parents, the church, facing up to things? How did you deal with it?
I had left home to work at a Christian camp, and so I think what I did was just hid. I didn't tell my parents. I just completely cut off communication with them, and really just hid and started searching out ways to deal with it, to kind of get rid of this problem. How was I going to fix this? Quick fix. So,
were you tempted at all by abortion? Absolutely.
So at the time I lived at the camp with the director and his wife. They had 4 small, amazing children. And I had planned, I lived near Tuscaloosa, Alabama, so college town, right? And I had planned to just hop over there, it was about 30 minutes away, and have an abortion. And I was leaving, and both times I had 2 experiences where I was getting ready to leave, and their youngest daughter wanted me to play with her or tie her shoe or whatever, and it just stopped me. And the second time I just thought, I just can't, this is a little person inside of me. I can't do this. And so I knew at that moment that I was going to give birth to the child. I didn't know if I was going to place him for adoption or parent him, but I knew I couldn't have an abortion.
You're very frank in your book, Delivered, and that stands out, and it's needed. There's so many girls, maybe some of them watching, maybe some of you watching now, that you're faced with this very thing. And if there's one thing that comes across so clear, it's that feeling of isolation.
Yes.
Many girls feel they want the support of the father to be, but yet he can be nowhere to be found in many circumstances. Tell us about yours.
So for me, my child's father, he was a basketball coach at a local high school. He taught biology. He was a great guy, but he just wasn't ready to parent, and neither was I. And so we really both kind of stepped back, and I think I initiated it. I said, I just need you to support me in this decision. I need you to sign the papers, to do whatever, to support me and do what's best for this child. So he was certainly willing to do whatever I wanted, and thankfully he was just very compliant.
Michelle, did you turn to the Lord in the middle of this despair?
Initially, no. Initially, I was running away and hiding, and I think just afraid of kind of what God would do to me or what he would feel. I went into a home called Mercy Ministries, and they take in all different kinds of young women and unplanned pregnancy. Unwed mothers is one of them. And so I went in, and they mandated Christian counseling, which I was not excited about, but I really needed. And so through the process of counseling and just searching out myself and searching out who is God really, and I really started to turn my heart to the Lord.
Did you consider at one point raising your baby yourself?
No, not really. I think I always knew I was going to choose adoption. Before I went into Mercy Ministries, I had gone to visit a friend, and I planned this long trip back home by myself. It was a probably about a 9-hour drive. And on the drive home, I was thinking about this, and I thought, you know, I could parent this baby. I could love a baby. He would love me when I came home, and you know, all the things that you go through, and you start to romance the idea of decorating a nursery, and you know, taking this little sweet thing around, and people doting on it, and in the moment, my car ran off the road, and this is something I talk about in the book. My car runs off the road and hits those grooves, and I jerked the wheel back, and I thought, no, the Lord's telling me to get back on the path, get back on the right path, just move forward towards adoption, and I didn't doubt it after that. I didn't waver back and forth.
This decision to put your baby up for adoption was a critical one. Yeah. It represented a very strong point in your life, and here's what you bring across that is so powerful. A mom that decides she wants to give her child up out of love,
yes, oh, absolutely,
for adoption,
yes,
thinks, do I hold this baby? Because those first few minutes of bonding is huge in that child's life, and huge in your life as a mom. Or do I surrender that baby? What did you choose?
I chose to hold him.
Okay, now how long before that time and that moment comes, how long before that did you decide that you were going to hold that baby?
Well, that was part of our part of the counseling. They let me know that it was going to be really important for me to to bond with him, to have a moment with him where he was wholly mine. There's a book by A.W. Tozer called Reaching Out, and he talks about you really have to have time alone with the Lord before you can reach out and give to anyone else. And it was kind of the same. I really had to have that moment where I bonded with him, where I loved him fully by myself before I could give him up, before I could let someone else love him.
And you named him?
I did name him, yes. And I named him something significant to me, and his parents renamed him, which is fine and totally appropriate, but I felt like not all birth mothers choose to name their children, and I did because I wanted to talk about him, and I wanted to name him something that he was worthy of, I guess. So
you learned about the father heart of God.
Yes.
Tell us what that means.
Yes. So I think the moment I knew that God loved me, like loved me. The moment I knew that the Lord was in love with me, no matter what I did, good or bad, was the moment that I held baby Dylan for the first time. And I just looked at him, I thought, my heart is already there. It is so
you
sure.
felt that then? Is this what you're saying, that you felt that love of God the moment you embraced Dylan?
Yeah. It was like a light went on for me, and I knew God loves me like this. And
wow.
And I think any parent can you probably relate to that. Just that you're so in love with this child. There's nothing that this child is going to do to make you love it any less. Like you are so in love with this child, and there are going to be ups and downs, but your love is sure. And I felt like that is how God loves us. Nothing can separate us from the love of Christ, right? And so I really owned that, and it went from my head to my heart, and it revolutionized the way I saw myself. It revolutionized the way I saw the Lord, and really allowed me to approach the throne of grace with confidence, just such confidence.
Michelle, there are viewers that are watching now, and they may be in exactly the same position you were in, but they're feeling that sense of loneliness, despair, isolation. They're feeling as if the Lord somehow abandoned them. If you could look into our camera at those people and say, look, this is what I learned from the Lord, and this is what I want you watching to take away with you into your spirit. Tell our viewers.
I would say that the Lord loves you. I would say that the Lord's love for you is not dependent on how you feel at any time, that it's truth. The truth is that God loves you. He loves you as you are. And if you are facing an unplanned pregnancy, seek Him out. He's going to tell you exactly what He wants you to do. And I think there's so much life to be celebrated. And the Lord brings us true life, and I am still celebrating life 12 years later. My child is 12 years old, and I celebrate his life all the time. And I see how he impacts other people and how he is growing and loving and learning. And yeah.
Now, Michelle, this book that you've written here, Delivered, My Harrowing Journey as a Birth Mother. Before we show you where you can get it in the e-store, normally we don't reveal what us ladies talk about in the ladies' room before a show. But Michelle did say that she's never met anyone that chose adoption, that chose to keep that life, that had any regrets whatsoever.
At all. It's been it's remarkable, right? So I have friends who have chosen abortion, and they have these regrets and these like what ifs. And for me, I have none of that. I am celebrating life. I've never met a birth mother who regrets choosing life for her child.
Well, Michelle, one thing is clear in your message. The Lord loves you, and He loves your life. And we want to show you now where you can get this book in our e-store. There it is. It's called Delivered, My Harrowing Journey as a Birth Mother. And it's on our website at crossroads.ca or on our phone, 1-800-265-3100. Michelle, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story and, of course, that precious baby of yours.
Thank you for having me. I'm so pleased to be here.
Thank you. We'll be back.